In 2007, there was a company that looked almost impossible to defeat. Millions of people were using its phones. Business executives loved them. Governments trusted them. Its keyboard had become so iconic that people started calling the devices simply BlackBerries. The company was called Research in Motion, and at the time, it had almost everything you would want from a technology company. A powerful brand, a huge user base, strong technology, and most importantly, a product people already loved. Then Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and introduced the iPhone. Now, here's the interesting part. The iPhone didn't destroy BlackBerry because BlackBerry suddenly became a bad company. BlackBerry lost because the definition of a smartphone changed. People stopped asking, "How good is your keyboard?" and started asking, "What can my phone actually do?" That distinction changed everything.
And today, something very similar could be happening in AI, because right now we have companies spending hundreds of billions of dollars trying to dominate artificial intelligence. NVIDIA controls the computing. Google has the models, cloud, and operating system. Microsoft owns the enterprise ecosystem. Amazon controls massive amounts of cloud infrastructure. Meta has billions of users. Elon Musk is building an ecosystem connecting AI to cars, robots, and space. And OpenAI created what may be the most important AI product of the decade. So if the AI industry changes again, which one of these companies could become the BlackBerry? To find the answer, we need to understand one thing. What made BlackBerry vulnerable in the first place?
BlackBerry made one big mistake. It kept getting better at the game it was already winning. Its customers loved the keyboard, email, and security, so BlackBerry kept improving them. But Apple changed the game. The iPhone didn't build a better BlackBerry, it changed what people expected from a phone. And that's the real danger in technology. And AI could be approaching that moment. Today, AI means you ask, it answers. But what if tomorrow, you ask, it acts? It controls your computer, drives your car, runs your business, and operates robots. If that happens, the companies winning today's AI race may not be the ones winning tomorrow. And that's exactly what we're going to find out.
Let's start with the company that looks like the obvious winner, OpenAI. When ChatGPT launched, it did something extraordinary. It didn't just make AI smarter, it made AI useful to everyone. For the first time, millions of people could simply open a box, type a question, and get an answer. But that success creates a very interesting problem. Because what if the box disappears? Imagine you don't open ChatGPT anymore. You just tell your computer, find me a flight, compare the prices, and book the best one. The AI doesn't answer you, it does the job. And that's a completely different business. Suddenly, the battle isn't just about who has the smartest model, it's about who controls the device, operating system, cloud, browser, and infrastructure where that AI lives. OpenAI can absolutely win that battle, but it has to move from being the place where you talk to AI to becoming the platform through which AI acts. And that transition is still the big question. That's why OpenAI takes number 7.
Now here's a company with an advantage OpenAI would love to have. Billions of users. Think about Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook. Meta doesn't have to convince people to start using AI. It can simply put AI where people already are. And that's why Meta is making a huge bet on AI. But there's a catch. Imagine Meta puts an AI assistant inside WhatsApp, and millions of people use it. But the intelligence behind that assistant comes from someone else. Then ask yourself, who owns the customer? And more importantly, who captures the value? That's Meta's real challenge. It has incredible distribution, but distribution can become a weak moat if someone else controls the intelligence underneath it. So Meta has the audience, but it still has to prove it can turn that audience into AI ownership. That's why Meta takes number 6.
Now, Microsoft has almost the opposite problem. It doesn't need more users. It already has them. Think about how much of the world's work happens inside Microsoft. Word, Excel, Teams, GitHub, Windows, Azure. Now, imagine AI becomes so powerful that you don't really use it anymore. You just work, and AI works alongside you. It writes the report, builds the spreadsheet, analyzes the data, writes the code. Microsoft is perfectly positioned for that world. But here's the question. Does Microsoft own the intelligence or just the place where people use it? Because if the smartest AI comes from somewhere else, Microsoft could become the world's biggest distributor of someone else's intelligence. That's still an incredible business. But if we're asking who can actually define the next generation of AI, Microsoft has a little less control over the stack. So Microsoft takes number 5.
Now, this company is playing a completely different game because Elon Musk isn't just asking, how do we make AI smarter? He's asking, what happens when AI gets a body? Think about it. Tesla gives AI a car. Optimus gives it a body. Starlink gives it connectivity. SpaceX gives it access to space. xAI gives it intelligence. And Musk is also pushing toward the computing and semiconductor infrastructure needed to power these systems. If these pieces actually connect, you don't just have an AI company, you have an AI ecosystem interacting with the physical world. But here's the problem. This isn't one bet, it's 5 or 6 enormous bets happening at the same time. Autonomy has to work, robots have to become useful, xAI has to compete, space infrastructure has to scale, and the hardware ambitions have to become real. That's an incredible amount of execution risk. But if Musk gets even a large part of this right, the upside is enormous. Because while everyone else is building AI that talks to you, Musk is trying to build AI that moves. That's why his ecosystem takes number 4.
Now, here's perhaps the smartest way to play the AI boom without actually winning the AI model war. Amazon. Because here's the uncomfortable truth about AI. Everyone wants intelligence, but intelligence is expensive. Every model needs computing. Every agent needs computing. Every AI company needs data centers. And someone has to pay for all of it. That's where AWS comes in. Amazon doesn't have to decide whether OpenAI, Google, or another company wins. It can sell infrastructure to all of them. And Amazon is going one step further. It's developing its own AI chips. Because the real question in the future might not be which AI is smartest. It might be which AI can deliver intelligence at the lowest cost. If that becomes the battlefield, Amazon suddenly becomes extremely important. Because it sits underneath the AI economy. It doesn't necessarily need to win the war. It can make money from everyone fighting it. And that's why Amazon takes number 3. Now we reach the company that started this entire AI arms race from underneath, NVIDIA. When people talk about NVIDIA, they usually talk about GPUs, but the GPU is only part of the story. The real weapon is the ecosystem. Developers use CUDA, companies build AI systems around NVIDIA hardware. Networking connects those systems. Software makes everything work together. So replacing NVIDIA isn't simply, let's buy another chip. It's let's rebuild an entire ecosystem. That's a massive advantage. But there's one problem. NVIDIA's best customers are also becoming its biggest potential competitors. Google has its own chips, Amazon has its own chips, Microsoft has its own chips, Meta is building its own accelerators. Why? Because nobody wants to depend forever on one company for the most important resource in AI. That's NVIDIA's vulnerability. But NVIDIA knows the game is changing, so it's moving beyond GPUs into networking, inference, complete AI systems, and physical AI. And that's why NVIDIA isn't just selling the engine of today's AI, it's trying to own the infrastructure of tomorrow's AI too. NVIDIA takes number 2.
And that leaves us with Google. Now, why Google? Because look at what this company already controls. It has Gemini for AI models. It has DeepMind, one of the world's strongest AI research teams. It has Google Cloud, which gives it the infrastructure to deploy AI at massive scale. Then there's TPU, Google's own AI chips. So Google isn't completely dependent on NVIDIA to power its AI. And then you have Android. If AI moves from chatbots into phones, glasses, and other devices, Google already has a massive distribution network. And there's one more thing: search. Google already owns one of the world's biggest gateways to information. So imagine AI completely changes how people search. Google doesn't have to build that audience from scratch. It already has it. That's what makes Google's position so powerful. It isn't just building an AI model. It's sitting across the models, research, chips, cloud, devices, and information layer. And if the AI game changes, Google has something most companies don't. It can change with it. That's why Google takes #1.
So, is OpenAI really the BlackBerry of AI?
Maybe we're asking the wrong question, because BlackBerry didn't know the game was changing until it was already too late. And that's what makes the AI race so unpredictable. The company dominating today could be building the technology that becomes irrelevant tomorrow. And the company nobody is watching could be building the next iPhone. So who will it be? We won't know until the game changes.